Though mankind's interest in authenticity is probably timeless, the practice of authentic leadership represents one of the newest and most interesting evolutions in leadership theory. Authentic leadership is transparent, morally grounded, and responsive to the needs of others. Historical figures like Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and Betty Ford are a few examples of authenticity in leadership. And these leaders, each in their own way, made significant positive contributions to our world. In this workshop, you will learn common descriptions of authentic leadership and a breakdown of its various components. You will learn major strengths and criticisms and the need for further research in several areas. Most importantly, you will gain insight of possible applications for authentic leadership in organizational settings and be able to assess the degree of authentic leadership you exhibit in your own endeavors.
We found many examples of authentic leadership practiced before it was ever defined. One of those such people is Florence Nightingale. In Peter Northhouse's book, Leadership Theory and Practice, and an article about Florence Nightingale and authentic leadership. His article examined Nightingale's example of authentic leadership during the war, even though it was not defined as that in her time. Nightingale was born in 1820, trained in Germany as a nurse in 1851, and in 1854, during the war, she led a team of nurses in the management of the hospital. She found horrible conditions and led her team of nurses to change several procedures that led to sanitary conditions. Nightingale developed a clear vision to raise the quality of life for the soldiers and did so by developing a process for caring for the soldiers in those barracks. She eventually implemented them in nursing school that led to the changing of nursing profession forever. Nightingale displayed an understanding of her purpose to care for the soldiers. She exhibited the value of doing the right thing by changing the conditions of the barracks the soldiers were being cared for in. She built relationships with people who could help her with this vision and purpose. She showed great resolve to stick to her values and vision even when others tried to sway her. She was very passionate about her purpose and drew others into supporting and growing her mission. Another historic example of authentic leadership is Gandhi. He has been used as an example of servant leadership for many years, but now many, including Peter Northouse, are using him as an example of authentic leadership. Gandhi had a clear vision of who he was and what he believed. He backed it up by living out his vision for all to see. He used his example to bring about change in his country and eventually the world. He believed his purpose was to protect his people and free them, and to do it in a peaceful way. He worked to build relationships. His self-discipline is one of the most notable things that people glean from his life. He went on to fast to show his resolve and to draw attention to certain issues. He had a heart for his people, and that grew to all who were oppressed in the world.
So now that we've told you about some authentic leaders in history, we want to break down for you a little better about the different components that authentic leadership entails. It starts with 4 positive psychological capacities, and it's influenced by moral reasoning as they play out through critical life events that shape us and shape the kind of leaders that we become. 4 psychological capacities: confidence, hope, optimism, and resilience. Confidence, the belief that one has the ability to successfully accomplish a specific task. Hope, a positive motivational state that's based on willpower and goal planning. And then optimism, the cognitive process of viewing situations intentionally from a positive light and with a favorable expectation of the future. And resilience, the capacity to recover from, to adjust, basically to adapt to adverse situations. Those 4 positive psychological capacities, alongside moral reasoning, each play an equal part in how we process critical life events. And those critical life events funnel into 4 measurable components that are central to authentic leadership. Those are self-awareness, internalized moral perspective, balanced processing, and relational transparency. Let's take a moment and tell you a little bit about what each of those components means. Self-awareness. the process in which leaders understand themselves holistically, their strengths and their weaknesses. They also understand the impact that they have on others. It's an impact they take very seriously. Internalized moral perspective, the process where individuals use their self-regulatory skills and their internal moral standards and values to guide their behavior rather than outside pressures. In other words, they decide based on their ethics what the right decision is to make. They don't allow outside pressures to influence their decision making. Balanced processing, a person's ability to analyze information objectively and to explore other people's opinions before making a decision. So in other words, they're open-minded. Then relational transparency, being open and honest in presenting your true self, strengths and flaws to others. So we've presented a lot of information on authentic leadership in the past few minutes, but what we want to take this time to point out is that research on authentic leadership is still in infancy. And the first article documenting authentic leadership wasn't even published until 2003. But we hope this presentation has shown you that the essence, the components of authentic leadership stem back decades in some of our greatest leaders. We hope that you're encouraged, that you've enjoyed this presentation, that you will check out our written teaching guide, and we thank you for your time.